with James from Daily Use of Sports Trivia, and this is going to be my Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 6, Blood of My Blood Q&A, and I'm sure we'll get into some Episode 7 stuff as well.
All right, let's start out with Markel Kia. After the Hodor incident, do you think Bran could be the many-faced god? Now, I don't know what that many-faced god is.
Yeah, the many-faced god is essentially death. It's what the faceless men believe in. That's who they serve. Basically, what it means is it doesn't matter who you worship, whether it's the Seven or the old gods or R'hllor or whatever, you're going to die. Okay. And so they believe that death is a gift. And that all started from legend in the minds of old Valyria when the Valyrian freehold held slaves, and it was so horrible, the conditions, they started, praying for death. And the first faceless man started giving that gift out, and that's what started the faceless men cult.
Wow.
So that's, but no, I don't think there's any gods in this story. I think it's just like Jaqen says, it doesn't matter to the many-faced god in the end. It doesn't matter who you serve or who you worship. Y'all end up in the same damn place. So I don't think there are any gods. I think it almost got proven with the White Walkers, because the White Walkers were supposedly servants of the Great Other, which was the polar opposite of R'hllor, the red god that Melisandre and the red priests and priestess worship. So we saw how they got created, right? We saw them created by the children of the Forest, being a man who was turned by a piece of obsidian through the heart. So that proved that there is no Great Other.
Right.
So therefore, there's probably not a R'hllor either.
I like your logic. So, I do.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of labels. A lot of labeling going
on. Okay, next question. All right, I'm going to tear your name up, but I'm sure if I knew how to pronounce it, it would sound really cool. Siandai Q&A. If it's not too late, do you think the Mad King and Wildfire visions are there to foreshadow Cersei's burning of King's Landing? She said, "I will burn cities to the ground almost every season."
Yes, I do. I still hold the belief that the wildfire stuff, in the visions, as I said in the visions video, I think it's there to tell Bran there is a weapon that you can use.
Right.
There is some of that stuff still there. The Mad King stashed that shit all over the city.
Not just under...
It's in a lot of places apparently cached and hidden that people don't even know about. It's still there to this day. So I think for the vision aspect, it was for Bran's set of tools, so to speak, as far as what can be used. And, Jaime may know about that. Cersei may know about that. But she does have this infatuation with fire. In the book, the Tower of the Hand is already burned, and she seemed, kind of infatuated by that. So that's been a long theory of mine that history is going to repeat itself. Cersei's going to at least try to burn down King's Landing, or perhaps just the Red Keep or whatever. And Jaime's going to have to stop her like he did the Mad King.
No joke.
And then that would fulfill the Valonqar prophecy for you, show only watchers. They didn't include this in the prophecy when you saw Cersei in season 5, but the Valonqar is a piece where the younger brother or sister, Valonqar is a gender neutral word apparently.
Right.
But it can be a younger sibling, so put it that way, is going to, after the younger, more beautiful queen comes and takes everything away you hold dear, the Valonqar will wrap his hands around your pale throat and choke the life out of you. So that was not included in the show, but for book readers, that would fulfill that being Jaime, because she always thinks it's been Tyrion. She thinks Tyrion being her younger brother, they hate each other. She just assumes, she's never going to assume Jaime her lover.
Right.
Because he is the younger brother. He was born a minute later. They were just twins.
Damn it, man.
So I still think it's Cersei.
Let me ask you this about that. In your Visions video, you mentioned the term pyromancers.
Yep.
Now, have they been in the show? Am I going to see them, or was that only Visions?
Yeah, you'll see a couple pyromancers in the upcoming Battle of the Blackwater when Stannis comes in season 2. You'll meet Stannis then. He will come and try to take the crown because he is Robert's younger brother. So technically, by lineage, as far as blood rights, he does have the right to be there, to be the next king when Robert dies, because he knows that Joffrey and Tommen are bastards. Okay. He knows the truth. So otherwise, he wouldn't have a right if Tommen and Joffrey were actually legitimate Baratheons. So yeah, so Tyrion.
The pyromancers, what, they make this fuel? Or
they make this. It's based off that real. I think it's based off in reality. I think the Greeks had something similar back ages ago, and I can't remember the name of it. But it burns really hot, and it's almost similar to it's a man-made dragon fire for the show.
Oh, okay.
So it takes apparently it takes some kind of magic though, some kind of spell to make it, because you will see in the show as well, Tyrion comes up with this great plan, just like he does in the books. It's a little bit different. It goes down a little bit different to defend King's Landing against Stannis in Blackwater Bay because he's sailing up with all these ships. And he has the pyromancer start making wildfire again. And they do say that their spells have been working better lately, but that was only after dragons were reborn into the world.
No shit.
So it implies that there's some kind of magical element to making it, just like Valyrian steel or something like that. So
I love this crap.
yeah, it's crazy.
All right, here we go. Masters Gaming says, Chris, I have a question for your Q&A video. How do you think this season will end, and what potential cliffhanger do you think it may be? For example, the wall collapsing or something.
I could see the wall coming down in a vision. I don't think the wall will come down literally quite yet. I think we're just a tad too soon for that, although they are moving really fast. There's still a lot of stuff going on though, so I wouldn't say the wall's coming down unless it's a vision like Bran sees what could happen or will happen. I think it will come down. But the cliffhanger this year is more than likely going to be the RLJ, if it's a cliffhanger. We're definitely going to see the Tower of Joy Part 2 in episode 10, I'm sure of it. I'm 99% sure of it. And I don't know if they'll do the cliffhanger as far as who the baby is or, you know, whatever.
Right.
But Bran did have a vision there. It was a real quick one. It was one of the ones that did not repeat, like I mentioned in the Visions video. And it was Ned, and then immediately after you saw his hand and Lyanna's hand also there, and you saw a bloody body.
Yeah.
So that was definitely the Tower of Joy. So that's going to be episode 10. And I would not be surprised if we get a cliffhanger with who the baby is or whatever. But we may see the actual reveal.
The guy, sorry I don't remember his name, the guy who was drowned and then came back. Euron. So Euron building 1,000 ships for the Dothraki army.
Well, he doesn't know that yet.
Oh, he doesn't know that?
No, he's just going over there to offer.
Propose.
Right, that's the show's tool, if you want to use their gimmick for him to be able to offer Dany something. And then, of course, in episode 6, you know, Dario says, well, you need about 1,000 ships. I mean, that wasn't the same. That was a little too obvious. So.
I know he sent him to build all the ships you can and all this stuff.
Yeah, so. I mean, it is his intention to help her, but only because he's going to, you know, marry her and rule with her. He
doesn't know anything about maybe putting the Dothraki army on there. And
yeah, he doesn't know that, you know, she's not going to want him involved. She's going to probably take those ships because she is now a conqueror.
Gotcha.
So we'll see how it plays out with Yara getting there first and Theon, and they have a couple hundred ships already. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's right. They
left early, so now they're going to magically have 1,000 ships built in the next couple weeks, I guess.
Here is a question from Johnny Moondog. Great name.
Johnny Moondog.
Johnny Moondog says, love the Dark Sister theory. Q&A. I've had a sinking feeling this season that Dany is succumbing to her father's madness. More and more, she resorts to violence as her first option.
Right.
When the Dosh Khaleen touch her, her first words are, I'll have your heads. In her speech to the Dothraki, it's clear she doesn't just want to conquer, but straight up murder most of Westeros, the lords at least, etc. Do you think that we could have been misled and that Dany is the anti-hero?
I believe that she will likely be seen as a conqueror, at least for a little while. Like I was saying, that's kind of what made me think about that when she did the unnecessary speech from Drogon. I mean, she had already proven herself, right, by walking out of a hut that was on fire.
Yeah.
But they had to introduce her getting in touch with Drogon again in some way, I guess. So I was fine with it, but it was one of those, you know, come with me. But she did say kill all my enemies. She didn't say, like, we're going to just kill everybody, right? So I could see her being looked upon like a conqueror, at least for a while, until she finds out about the real threat, because she's still focused on the Iron Throne. You know, it's almost like the King's Landing shit, right? Everything down there, they're living in a bubble. They're all worried about, you know, who's ruling or whatever, the High Sparrow and all that stuff going on at King's Landing. And nobody except for the very northern houses are now being alerted to the real threat coming with the White Walkers. So once Dany finds that out, you know, I think she'll go back and be, you know, this savior as well with Jon Snow. But I think
I could see that too.
For a while, I don't think the show's
her intentions at first are this, but when she sees all the White Walkers and everything, she uses Drogon and everything to fight them.
Yeah, that's the hope anyway. It may not go down that cleanly, but yeah, I could definitely see her being a little, have a little Mad King in her for a while.
All right, our next question comes from James Milkovic. I didn't like your channel at first, but now I like it a lot. Thanks for making the videos. Who do you think
Thank you. That was cool. Why didn't you like it at first, by the way? Just curious.
Good question. Who do you think is the prince that is promised, Dany or Jon?
I would say probably neither. I don't think that prophecy is that straightforward. I think the idea of it is, the idea of the prince that was promised, or Azor Ahai, or whatever you want to call it, based off whatever culture it came from, is the idea that there's this one person that saves the world. The savior or whatever. And, Dany fits all those things of the prophecy perfectly. Jon fits those in a lot of ways, especially in the books, as far as how his rebirth went. So,
what about Bran?
Yeah, I mean, you can make anybody fit the signs.
I see what you're saying.
There were specific ones about, being reborn or born under a bleeding star, which could have been a comment, but it could have been a lot of other stuff too. Born amidst salt and smoke. So there's a lot of little things that you can make just about anybody fit. Hell, I've made Sir Davos Seaworth fit the prince that was promised. He was reborn a knight. He was called the Onion Knight. He took onions to Stannis and saved him. It was this whole thing. So I think the idea is at least what George R. R. Martin's going for, is that you have all this prophecy and people trying to fulfill it, and they hear about these legends and whatever, and they want to go out and fulfill these things, but it ends up taking a village. It ends up taking people working together to save the world. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense. It does make sense. So I don't think anybody is one particular figure named Azor Ahai or the prince that was promised. Now, with that said, Melisandre has already labeled Jon the prince that was promised.
Oh, really?
And over in Meereen, the Red Priest Kinvara and all her followers have already labeled Dany Azor Ahai, which is the same thing. So it's going to be really interesting when she does get over in Westeros and gets involved in, the War for the Dawn, and these priests, meet at some point, and she thinks it's Dany and she thinks it's Jon.
It'd be a good episode.
Yeah, exactly. Who's who? Who do you listen to? Who do they follow?
Really?
Do you follow the person that came back to life, or do you follow the person that can be basically walk through fire and not be harmed? I don't know. So yeah, I mean, the prince that was promised, I think, is going to end up being like the collective of Jon and Dany and Bran and all these endgame players. So
awesome.
My opinion.
Next question, Kate Hunter. Kate Hunter says, Q&A, do you think there's any significance as to which Stark Snow children still have living direwolves? Does the status of the direwolves suggest anything about the narrative arcs of the characters they are or were tied to? That's a pretty good question.
Yeah, we kind of went over this one time before. Some people think that whatever the owners do, it determines the fate of the direwolves. So people thought that Bran screwed up by going back in the past, and therefore Summer died. Sansa lied and Lady died, and all that good stuff.
So who are the ones that are alive, still have living direwolves right now?
Only Arya with Nymeria, which we haven't seen
gone. I saw that.
Right, so haven't seen Nymeria since, and it goes with Jon.
That's the only two left?
That's the only two left. So
they're asking about those two then. Do you think there's any significance as to which Stark Snow children have any living direwolves?
Yeah, I mean, I think that shows the importance of, first of all, the character, and I think it, again, goes back to their names, like I said before. Jon was literally a ghost for, well, not literally, but he was a ghost in the sense of the term for a couple days or hours. We're not sure how long that was. He was dead. But he may have to be sacrificed for to win this war. There's going to be this bittersweet ending, and we don't really know what that means yet. So he could be dead at the end of this thing. We don't know. Nymeria was a warrior, princess, conqueror, queen, right?
Really?
And so that suggests that Arya may become that type of thing. So I think it's more along the lines of, yeah, they're aligned, but I think the names kind of give you at least an idea of where they're going. I mean, Sansa becoming a lady, Queen of the North. Jon was a ghost and may end up being a ghost. You had Bran, who's going to help restore Summer, not just that a lot of people said it was symbolism, and I'm sure it was when Summer died, about
winter coming,
jumping into the thing, summer's gone, winter's here. And I'm sure it was, but also think about the other side of it. Bran's going to be the one to help save Summer.
Wow.
Right, so I think it goes back to what their end game is.
Do you think that Nymeria's return is going to be pretty awesome? Going to be right at the right time.
I hope Nymeria returns.
I do too.
I hope they don't skip that in the show at least, and because in the books, in the Riverlands, there's this huge wolf pack running around led by this giant wolf that people have seen apparently, and we know who that is, but we haven't heard any hint of it in the show as far as I know.
Well, let's see here.
But Arya is fixing to come back to Westeros, so maybe there's a reconnect there. I hope so.
I hope so too. Marianne Grace Solomon says, Q&A, do you think Jon was born through C-section? There was a cut in Bran's vision. It says, # hoping for R + L = J.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell with that picture. That was one of the flash visions in the last episode where you saw the hand of Ned, the bloody hand. That's probably Ned's hand because he had the armor on around his wrist, and you saw Lyanna's hand was beside his. I said that was Lyanna's hand, but there was a bloody hand. That was Ned's, the one that folded his hand. But there's a smaller feminine hand beside his hand, beside a body, and it looks to be some kind of cut there. You see a lot of blood, but you can't really tell. So that's certainly a possibility, but there's no evidence for that in the books as far as a certain, whether it's a C-section or natural birth or whatever. And a lot of people speculate twins, and that's probably the question asked the most to me. Do I think John and Dany are twins? And I'll go ahead and say this. According to our author, at least, John is about 9 months older, so no.
Okay.
So I mean, it's a great theory. I like the idea of it that they were both secretly born there, but it takes all this other stuff going on that's really too convoluted almost. But anyway, it's hard to tell. I mean, is that even a cut or not? I have no idea. It's just too hard to tell by that little picture.
And it was really quick.
Yeah,
all of them were quick.
Super fast.
Now,
I mean, it almost seizure fast.
All right, put your thinking cap on.
All right.
I've got a long one here.
Here, wait a minute. My thinking cap on. Got it. There we go.
Yeah, you need it.
All right.
All right, you ready?
Okay.
David Boyd writes, for the Q&A, okay, I didn't read the books, and that might not matter, but do you have any insight on Jaime and Brienne meeting up in the Riverlands? Jaime gave her Oathkeeper Podrick and the armor, and he told her to go to protect the Stark girls. She's doing that with Sansa. Do you think good Jaime is gone now, or will he turn on the phrase and really complete this space turn by somehow helping Brienne and the Blackfish? He was the guy we hated in the first season.
Right.
Then he nobly saved Brienne from the bear, saved Tyrion from execution, and had that sad moment on the boat with Myrcella last season.
Right.
I even felt sorry for him getting kicked out of the Kingsguard. Going to help the Freys beat the Tullys doesn't fit with who this character has become. Is he going to revert to the Jaime from season 1 and 2? Sorry, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I talked about this in a couple comments earlier the last couple of days. I think that he will end up, in some way helping the Starks. I don't think that old Jaime's back for good. I think this is like a temporary thing. He's pissed off because Tommen got converted to the Faith of the Seven by the High Sparrow.
Yeah.
And him and Cersei are kind of back together right now in the books. I mean, in the show. In the books, he's done with Cersei. He's completely done. So I just have a feeling that once he runs into Brienne again, he's going to have those feelings come back for her and all that kind of stuff, and about being a true knight, doing the right thing again, because this is the character he did become. And so that's why I'm not liking this year as much as far as the Jaime, Cersei, King's Landing crap. It's kind of getting on my nerves how he's kind of back again to this asshole Jaime temporarily, but I think it's temporary. I don't know how this is going to go down exactly, but I think that in some way, shape, or form, he will end up helping the Starks in some way. I don't think he's going to just go out and start destroying, because he ultimately he learned all these lessons. When him and Brienne were together, he became this other person. He did save her. He told her the story of why he killed the Mad King. It actually saved thousands and thousands of people. It wasn't just to betray the king, just to be a kingslayer. I mean, who wants to be labeled that the rest of your life, right? So he has all these internal conflicts that you saw come out, and he became this character that you pull for. And a lot of people speculate that he is one of the Azor Ahai figures, going back to that question too. So I do think that some way Jaime will end up helping him in some way, shape, or form, keeping his oath, and I think that he is the one to probably kill Cersei.
It's funny, David.
Because Cersei's fucking crazy. It's
funny, David, because I've watched 3 episodes now, and I hate Jaime. And he keeps telling me, keep an open mind with him, because you'll see some things happen as you keep watching.
You absolutely hate him.
I'm looking forward to it.
You absolutely hate him at first. You just want him to die slow.
Yeah.
You do. And then a lot of stuff happens.
Red CD asks, Q&A. I posted this in your brand video as well, so with the risk of becoming repetitive and dull. It says, the symbol of the faith that was now put above the Iron Throne is the same scenery as the one Daenerys saw in the House of the Undying when she had the vision about the burned and snowed King's Landing. Does this, along with Bran's visions of the wildfire, mean that the destruction of Westeros is nearer than we think? Also, do you think Cersei may have something up her sleeve? We never knew what Tommen told her after his first visit to the Sparrow this season, and we don't know what Cersei's reaction was. Could she and Tommen be playing behind the scenes of this supposed collaboration between Faith and Regime? Could this also be Cersei's undoing?
I like the idea of her having this secret plan, but I think the information Tommen told her was just about Marjorie's walk of shame. There was never going to be a walk of shame, right? I mean, she was standing out there. She never had her hair cut off. And so I think the information was as simple as that, because she immediately went to the High Council, or the Small Council, and said, you know, Marjorie's supposed to do her walk of shame. And that's when Lady Olenna said that can never happen. And so I think that was that information, that the High Sparrow knew Tommen would go run his trap to Cersei. And that's what set up the whole army coming in with the Tyrells and threatening them and all that stuff. But what they didn't, exactly, that makes Tyrell, I can't stand him. I can't stand the show makes Tyrell. I don't know why. He just reminds me of that character that you hate.
Yeah.
So when I saw the feathers all up there flapping, I just thought Jar Jar damn Binks. But yeah, so that was all planned. And as much as I would like for there to be some twist in King's Landing, I just don't think Cersei's that damn smart. She thinks she's smart, but everything she's ever tried fails miserably. So I don't think there's going to be that twist. I don't think she ever saw that coming. I don't think she ever saw Tommen sneaking down and speaking to the High Sparrow and being converted, and then he's going to be, now you have a theocracy, and she can't control him anymore. So now if you think about it, the High Sparrow is essentially the hand of the king.
Oh yeah.
Even though Kevin Lannister is the official hand, now the High Sparrow's his right-hand man, right? Basically. So he's now basically put himself in a position to control the crown.
What about the thing she said about the symbol above the throne?
Yeah, so I guess I'd have to double check, but Dany's vision, that's been a long time ago, but there is when she walks into the throne room in her visions in the House of the Undying, which is completely different from the books, by the way, she walks into a snowy throne room, and ceilings are burnt out from something, whether that's dragons or you know, wildfire. We don't know, or if it ever happens in the first place. It's just a possible future, I think.
Right.
That basically says that it's just at that time. So I don't really know if that's significant or not. As far as I think it's coming. I think.
So what Red CD's saying is, if in fact it's the same symbol, maybe it's closer than we.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it could be, but really it could be any time after this, right? But if you think about it, we just now got the turn of Tommen, right? So they just now have the 7-pointed stars installed on the armor and the symbol and all that. So now we just know we're to that point where any time it could happen. But what's interesting is, if you remember Stannis, he changed his sigil from the stag, because he was Baratheon, to the fiery heart around the stag. And because he became religious with the red god R'hllor in Melisandre. So when he started following that god, he changed his sigil. And so now Tommen has changed his symbol with the 7-pointed star and the crown inside of that. So it's another kind of reference to that as well, about, you know, theocracy's gone awry. You know, they don't work out too good.
No,
so
never do.
That's my opinion anyway. So
the next question comes from Incredible James. Incredible James asks, Q&A, do you think we'll get more Mad King visions? And do you think once Bran finds out Jon's origins, will he tell him?
I don't know if we'll get more Mad King visions. I think that's probably the extent of it. I mean, we're going to get more visions for sure, unless there's something else that needs to be revealed to Bran about it. But I think we basically got the story, and I think we basically got the idea, or at least Bran got the idea of, you know, that's another tool, right, to fight the White Walkers. And maybe Jaime's involved with that, because he may still know about the caches of wildfire, you know, that the Mad King left everywhere. I wouldn't think we'd get any more Mad King, and yeah, I think Bran is probably going to be the one responsible for telling Jon, although that may involve Howland Reed. He should show up sometime. He's the one survivor of the Tower of Joy that's still alive.
Oh yeah, the one that stabbed the
guy in the back. So to save Ned. So he's still alive. And George R.R. Martin has said that he will show up at some point. Now in the show we don't know for sure, but he can kind of vouch for Jon there, because otherwise it is going to be tough for people to believe. I mean, people have their beliefs anyway. Kind of whispers that they kind of know that Ned wouldn't do something like that. So it's definitely believed. And I think Littlefinger also has a role in that too, because we had the scene in season 5 with Sansa in the crypts, when Sansa's saying they're standing in front of Lyanna's statue. You know, she always comes up, right? Throughout this whole series, you see people in the crypts and her, looking at her statue. So yeah, with the scene in season 5, you had Littlefinger and Sansa in the crypts, and she's talking about Lyanna, and she says, yes, he chose my aunt, and then he, kidnapped her and raped her. And Littlefinger's just kind of like, okay. And he doesn't say a word, right? So he knows something's up with it. So him and Varys, with their kind of information, I'd imagine that somebody's found out one way or the other. So, but I think that Bran is the key for that, right? Because he's going to see it in episode 10. So if he sees it, he's the only one in the world that knows it besides Hal and Reed.
Right.
So one of them two has to be the one to tell Jon in some way. So,
and like from episode 3, season 1 that I'm watching, Littlefinger and Varys, they do seem to know everything.
Right.
And so
for different reasons,
they
yes.
know already.
Yeah, it's possible they at least have an idea that they may not know a baby came from it, but they know that Rhaegar didn't kidnap Lyanna.
Right.
And I think that's what that implied with Littlefinger's scene with Sansa, is that, yeah, she thinks, he didn't correct her, but his look was like, okay, whatever you think, So I think he knows at least that Lyanna left willingly with Rhaegar.
Okay.
So,
next question comes from Mo Aranshi. My nearly 60-year-old mother is in love with you, dude. Give her a shout out. So
Mo Aranshi.
Yeah.
Okay, hello, Mo Aranchi's mama. How you doing? Glad you are a big fan of the show.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Michael Blanchette says, Q&A, do you think the Night's King has some kind of green sight power? He seemed to know a bunch for a super isolated ice necromancer, as he seemed to know Bloodraven in some way, even to kill him personally anyway, and he saw Bran in the vision, etc.
Yeah, I think there's some connection there. I mean, we just don't know enough about them to know what they can do as far as powers related to green sight and warging and all that, but they were created by the same race where all that comes from, right? So there's some connection there. He did like know about Bloodraven or something, because he had this look on his face like, I finally got you, old motherfucker, and then, so there's definitely a connection there. We just don't know because there's no POV in the books about him. There's no Night King yet in the books. We haven't seen.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, there's a Night's King historical figure that's a completely different person.
Okay.
13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, fell in love with a female other, married her, gave her his seed and soul, and then ruled the Night Fort for 13 years as Night's King, the Night's King. So we're referring to the de facto leader of the White Walkers as the Night King.
Gotcha.
Two different people, but we have
that.
not seen a Night King in the books yet. So we just don't know enough about him, but I do think that there's something there. I mean, he could see Bran in a vision, so obviously there's something he can.
True.
He's the only one that could do that. So it's just hard to say, but there's definitely a connection because they were created by the children. So
next question, Magali TS. Q&A, do you think we could get a full Stark family reunion by episode 10? Rickon is in Winterfell. Jon and Sansa are going there. Bran is also going to the Wall, and he might be on time. Arya must be planning to return to Westeros.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that full reunion yet. I don't think Rickon's going to make it. I think he is the Shaggy Dog story, kind of going back to the direwolf names. If Sansa's going to be this Queen of the North figure, or eventually maybe the Queen, whatever it is that she's destined for, as becoming a lady, back to the direwolf names again, then Rickon's in the way. And unfortunately, he's now there with Ramsay, and I think he's probably going to be killed in front of Jon in some way when they come down to blows, because they're going to do it very unrealistically in this battle. Somehow, in all these thousands of people clashing, Jon's going to find Ramsay, right?
Right. It always happens that way. That's funny, man.
Yeah, exactly. So,
out.
but it's TV, I get that. I have to suspend that disbelief. But I don't think Rickon's going to make it, but it's one of those things where Jon's going to see Rickon, like, Rickon, my brother, I hadn't seen you in 5.5 years. And then he's dead right in front of him, I think.
Wow.
So that's going to be so we're going to have to lose at least one more Stark. I do think Arya has now made her choice. She is going to be heading back at least by the end of the season. I don't think she would make it by the end of the season to anywhere up north. I mean, with their magical teleporting ability, she could. So I could see possibly Bran maybe by the end of the season, but where's he having that vision from in the Tower of Joy? So just based off that he's going to have that vision in Tower of Joy Part 2, I don't think that he would then have to go to Jon after that, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's episode 10, we better damn well see that in the beginning of the episode, and somehow he's already close to the Wall or whatever to get to Jon in time.
I have to ask you a question here. So Bran was in the cave with Bloodraven.
Right, and we don't know where that cave is exactly.
And
it's just up north.
He would go on these visions with Bloodraven by touching the root, right?
The root, right.
Does he have to be at a root and touch it?
I don't think so anymore.
Okay.
I think maybe initially, but I think he's one of the, it's like the X-Men, right? You have classes of mutants. class 1 through 5.
Right.
And you got class 5 is Magneto and those guys.
You're all over this, dude.
So I think that you got Bloodraven and Bran, people like them are class 5 or class 6. So they're the class 6 mutants. They're off this chart. So I don't think they need, that's the way they're going to have to portray it, because there's not enough trees left. Now, unless you consider maybe there's underground root systems still all over the place, all over Westeros. So that's been kind of the question I've seen a few times too, is like, how is he seeing all this inside the Red Keep when there's no weirwood around there? Well, if there was a weirwood there,
if there's a root system, maybe he could just touch the ground
and
or anything.
Right, and it's unclear if the weirwood has to be dead, because, for example, in the Eyrie, Robin, little shit Robin, sweet Robin, has a weirwood throne, and he hears whispers. So we don't know what that means yet, but does that imply that through that dead wood something can still be done? It's not actually connected to the root system, whatever. So
get a little piece, carry it with you.
Right. So we just don't know. We just don't know how that really works yet. I personally think that blood feeds the trees, because I talked about that chapter in, I think it was A Feast for Crows, when Brienne kills a couple guys, and it specifically mentions it was under a weirwood tree. There's all these hints about blood and trees, right, as far as how they work, because in the cave, it's described as skulls and bones and shit laying everywhere, of children and men and giants and animals.
Okay.
So we just don't know how it works, but obviously he was still in the Matrix when he left the cave, still having all those visions. So maybe it takes him to touch one to start it, but obviously he doesn't have to be,
once he gets
it going, he doesn't have to touch one. And I guess from this point on, he probably can just go into it anywhere. I'm guessing.
I love the X-Men analogy.
But if you think about the time thing, right? If there was a tree, like people will say, well, how did he see over here? Well, you got to remember, maybe there used to be a tree there, and those memories live on forever in weirwood.net.
Amen.
So even if that tree, like if you got an event where it happened over here, right, and there was a weirwood nearby, whatever the distance is, we don't know what that is.
Sure.
And then it got cut down. Everything that it recorded is still in weirwood.net.
It just needs to be accessed.
Right, it just needs to be accessed. So that's the way I got to look at it. I got just to assume, if that's the way it works, if there's some vicinity that you need to be in a weirwood tree to see an event,
Sweet.
that there used to be a tree nearby, right, or something. Because they all got cut down by the first men, and then the Andals came and did the same thing. So essentially, there are more trees than people think, though, still south. So there's a few. There's a few.
I love it. Make his little sled that he's on
out of weirwood. Maybe it's made out of weirwood. That's a good thought, though.
Shit, because it was made there.
Yeah, it was made there. What if it's made out of weirwood roots and it still works because it's weirwood?
Hey guys.
So he's sitting there and he's got his portable little. He's got his laptop.
Professor Xavier wheelchair.
Exactly. He has his portable little weirwood coffin, and he can just touch his own coffin, right?
Awesome.
Maybe. We just don't know, but that's the way I'm taking it.
Awesome.
Until they explain it.
Moez Mejdi says, smokescreen Q&A. We always been thinking that the prophecies are one and the same. What if they're not? For me, there is at least 3, which are the last hero, Bran, the prince, Jon, and Azor Ahai, Dany. What do you think?
Well, I think they're all the same. I think they all come from different, just like in real life, you have different, cultures that have these different figures.
Right.
From mythology that, save the world or whatever. So it's just like in real life. I think they're the same thing. For example, the name Azor Ahai comes from Ashai, which is a city we'll probably never see. We were told we'll never see in the books. We're just told about it a little bit.
Okay.
That's where Melisandre's from, a shadowbinder from Ashai. So that comes from there. The prince that was promised comes from a different location. The stallion that mounts the world comes from the Dothraki. You have all these different names.
Is the stallion that mounts the world the last hero?
The last hero was a figure, supposedly a legendary figure 8,000 years ago that ended the long night, the first long night. So that's a legend where people think that Azor Ahai is that last hero reborn. So anyway, if you think about all the different prophecies and names of these potential saviors of the world, you have Azor Ahai, Yentar, Eldritch Shadow Chaser, the prince that was promised, the stallion that mounts the world. They're all, to me, basically the same thing from different cultures. And of course, some of the stories go a little bit differently depending on how they're passed down. So I think it's all the same thing. Basically, it says, here's our savior and this is what's going to happen, based off beliefs, just like the real world.
But it is just like the real world.
Just like the real world.
It sure is. They may have different names and slightly different stories, but it all kind of...
Right.
Okay, cool. Tom Dowd says, Q&A. At some point, will it be revealed to Sansa that Brienne is carrying half of her ancestral sword, and will it be reformed into ice?
That's actually a good question. I never even thought about that, because, she's standing there with half of Ned's greatsword. So Ice is the House Stark ancestral sword. It was a great sword, the one in season 1 where he chopped Homeboy's head off, that deserted the Night's Watch, right?
Yeah.
That saw the White Walkers the first time, that opened up the show for us. And so when Ned dies later, there's only 2 people left in the entire world that can even rework Valyrian steel. Nobody can make it. Nobody can forge it because it was apparently done with dragon fire and magic. And Tywin decided, okay, we have this giant great sword. I'll just have it melted down and form 2 swords out of it. One was Oathkeeper, which ends up being the one that Jaime gives to Brienne, and the other was Widow's Wail that he gave to Joffrey as a wedding gift.
Okay.
So Ice became 2 Valyrian steel swords. So yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know if Brienne even knows that though. I don't know if Brienne knows where that sword came from. So she may not know the information to tell Sansa that she has ice.
Mel Stott 86 says Q&A. Love the vids. My new guilty pleasure.
Awesome.
The burn them all quote seems to be spoken in 2 different voices. Do you think one of these is Bloodraven or Bran?
You know, that's what it said in this Visions video.
Did you notice that it was 2 different voices?
I didn't notice it.
I didn't either.
I'd have to
Maybe
go back and
listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been, you know, for effect or whatever, but I had speculated in the Visions video that it could be Bloodraven that had tried this on the Mad King, trying to warn him about the White Walkers. You know, you have to burn them all, they're coming. But the timeline may not fit that well. I don't really know. It's just speculation. It's not that I fully believe that, but I think it fits, you know, because Bloodraven tried this, right, and then drove the Mad King crazy, and then he realized, wait a minute, Bran, don't be doing that shit. I done tried that before, and it just makes shit worse. But I also didn't make clear because I was in a haze of fatigue from 2 back-to-back videos.
In one day.
Yeah, I mean, two whole days of editing, that I wanted to point out that the other option would be that what if Bloodraven did it on purpose, only because if you didn't have a Mad King, if Aerys didn't go crazy, then you would have never had Dany hatching her dragons. Her mother would have never had been taken from King's Landing. There would have never been a sack of King's Landing, so she would have grown up there as a regular old princess.
That's right.
And never even been over to Essos, and she would have been sitting there now.
Shit. She wouldn't have got the eggs.
She would have never got the eggs from the Shadowlands, and none of this would ever happened. So this all led, the Mad King going crazy did lead to the current events that have happened.
That's exactly right.
But on the other hand, in the books at least, Aerys went crazy over a long period of time. It wasn't just like overnight. There was a particular event, I believe Duskendale, and it was a little area near King's Landing. I think it's a port town. And there was a house they were getting kind of pissed off about the taxes or something. It was complaining about taxes, and Aerys was already jealous of Tywin Lannister, who was his hand of the king for 20 years before he became Joffrey's. And he was jealous of Tywin already, so he decided, you know what, I'll go take care of this shit myself. So he goes down marching to Duskendale and gets captured. Ends up being their prisoner for a few months. And that's what started him kind of going crazy. That's when the Mad King's, you know, name came to be. He was actually rescued by Sir Barristan Selmy, and once he got out, he had everybody burned alive. So that's what started the whole thing about him being called the Mad King. Anyway, so, you know, it would have to be over a long period of time, for, you know, as far as Bloodraven trying to do something like that.
Kind of just fucking with him here and there.
Yeah, it could have been just random attempts. You know, I'm not fully buying into that by any means. It was just speculation, but I think it would fit for why Bloodraven was so adamant that, no, Ned may not have heard you, could have heard the wind, you know, but obviously he knows something's up. So they wouldn't have put that in there without something would have to have happened or will happen based off going back and changing something or affecting the past.
I love what you said about if it didn't happen.
Right.
Think of
so it could have been completely on purpose. He ends up destroying the Targaryen dynasty, for which he fought his entire life.
Wow.
Because he needed dragons.
Wow.
Right. So just an idea.
No, that's a pretty good one. Pretty logical. Okay, next question. Chibs84 says, what if the Visions was showing Bran the villains and heroes of the show, i.e. Dany is the villain and Jon Snow is the hero? People are hot on Dany.
Yeah,
being
it could be. Yeah, I mean,
this
this last episode with her, you know, giving the speech on the back of Drogon really kind of cemented the fact that potential fact that she may become like a heel for a while.
But then she's going to end up.
But yeah,
with the fire.
Right, but the thing is about that speech, it was unnecessary, but it was the way the show used to find Drogon again and reconnect with him, and she got to show him off, is what she did, right? But she also gave them a choice, just like she did the Unsullied when she bought them. She didn't get the Unsullied and trick the guy and then say, all right, come with me. She said, you are a free man, you can leave if you want. Now, in her speech, she said, will you follow me? Will you come across the sea? Will you kill my enemies? not you are going to come with me and kill all the people, right? So you got to listen to the speech a little bit too, and the music they played was not very. It wasn't that badass music like she's just killed a bunch of people like the ones when she got the Unsullied or when she walked out of the hut. The music was really uplifting, and I can't see the show at least making her this bad guy for at least very long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's going to have periods of Mad King in her. I mean, she's Targaryen, right?
I think this is a good point, a good time for me to squeeze this in here. I didn't clip any of them, but a lot of people were saying, what happened to her horse? Remember me and you said that too?
Yeah, it's like, did she just leave it tied to a rock? Well, dragons got to eat too, right?
Yeah,
Dragons
some people actually said maybe she fed it to the dragon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a minor thing, but you kind of notice stuff like that, right? I mean, she walks around the corner, or rides around the corner, and then comes back in the air from God knows where. Where's the damn horse? I mean, at least...
Okay, let's see. Michelle Moody, maybe, says, hey, Chris, great video as per usual.
Thank you.
Love the insight. Question. We know that the waif has been sent to kill Arya.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have a feeling she won't succeed. In that case, what do you think the Faceless Men do to those who drop out of assassin school? In other words, do you think Arya's fate is sealed since she will now have master assassins after her? Or do you think they'll let her go? Thanks.
Well, here's the other way to look at this, and a lot of other people have thought of this too this week because I've read a lot of the comments, and so I was thinking the same thing. I don't think it's necessarily just Arya's test. I mean, it was mainly her test to go try to assassinate this woman who's playing Cersei, right? And she gets to see all these events she's missed and sees Joffrey die and enjoys that, right? And apparently the waif has been promised to Jaqen, apparently promised her if she fails, you get to go kill her.
She said that, yeah.
But why is the waif allowed to have feelings? Is it her test too? Oh. She can't be like, if she's no one, she shouldn't give a damn if Arya fails or not. She hates her. It's clear through every training scene that she is jealous of her in some way. So is this the waif's test?
Could be.
A face is going to be added to the hall either way, and it's going to be the bad haircut and waif's face, is what I'm saying.
I think you're right.
You know what I mean?
Bad haircut.
But now, as far as the whole, will they let her go? In the show, I don't know. In the books, it seems to be implied that there's a guy named the Kindly Man, and we don't really know who he is. It's not Jaqen there all the time. It's implied that she can leave whenever she wants. Like, if you don't want to be no one, there's the door. So in the show, I don't know. I think it may be a test for the waif too, and there is going to be a face added to the hall, but it's not going to be Arya's. I mean, some people have speculated that maybe the waif does win and takes her face, and then she goes to Westeros. But that doesn't make any literary sense to me. So, yeah, I think we're going to finally see that damn hair get cut off one way or the other.
That's a terrible haircut. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah, man.
Jen Kalich says, who dat?
Oh, damn.
LOL, but I love your videos, damn it all.
Who shat? Damn Saints fans. I swear in there, who dat?
They pop up everywhere.
I'm telling you, man, we've let it be known, where we're from.
And I got my cheer wine.
And the sun drops, so this is all Carolina stuff, right?
Hell yeah.
No, I appreciate...
You ain'ts, stay out of here.
I appreciate the love from all you, Aints fans and Sea Chickens and all these...
One of your really good friends.
The Cowgirls. Yeah, I have a really good friend who lives in Louisiana, and I have been to New Orleans and seen a Panthers-Saints game, and I really enjoyed the city. It was fun, and I would certainly like to head back. So everybody was really, really nice, even when I was in all my full Panthers gear. It was really cool. I enjoyed New Orleans, but... And and the thing with that is, I would pull for New Orleans before I'm pulling for an AFC team, right?
Oh, me too.
I mean,
I don't understand why people can't do that.
No, I don't get that either. If I have to choose between New Orleans, Atlanta, or Tampa Bay, and the Patriots,
exactly.
Give me a fucking break.
Did you go to Bourbon Street?
I did.
Is it as awesome as
it is? I mean, we spent a lot of time in the casino.
Oh yeah,
yeah, but no, we walk Bourbon Street all night and day, and
you hear music playing
all the time, man. Yeah, I love New Orleans. It's great.
Very cool. And so the people there are pretty cool too. That's
I mean, I can't support your team and your stadium. I tell you what, when I felt like I was going to fall off the damn thing.
No shit.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was going to fall down onto the field.
Oh, steep.
Yeah, it was so steep. It's so steep compared to Panther Stadium.
Okay, next we have Joseph Ashley. Q&A, do you think the dragons will get larger like how they describe the dragons from the past?
I hope so. We see Drogon pretty damn big now, but I don't know if in the show they'll make him much bigger. In the World of Ice and Fire book, Valyrian the Black Dread, which is basically what Drogon is now, it's kind of recurring history, right? It's repeating itself. He is big enough for Aegon the Conqueror to stand up on his back with like this, rig where he holds on.
Oh wow!
Like he's standing on his back because he couldn't get his legs around his, girth. I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So I hope he gets that big, since he's basically supposed to be like they're not reincarnation, but the next Valyrians. But I hope we see Rhaegal and Viserion get the hell out of the pyramids. I don't understand why we haven't seen them yet get out. I mean, we saw Tyrion, and I had predicted that in the predictions videos, that Tyrion will release him. They seem to kind of bond with him, which feeds the Tyrion Targaryen theories. And then they just walk back in the dark and they leave, and you never see them in 6 episodes since, or 5.
But they are unlocked or whatever?
Yeah, they're free. I mean, I guess they left the door open, and they're already free in the books, going around tearing up Meereen. They're building their lairs in the pyramids, and which I think is part of that whole prophecy. When the mountains blow in the wind like leaves, they're tearing up these, mountain-style,
oh yeah,
pyramids. So they should already be out tearing shit up and growing, because now look how big Drogon has got, being wild and free.
True.
And they've been chained up, and it stunted their growth. So
like a goldfish in a small tank.
Right, exactly. So I hope they should have had him at least get out and at least disappear, so we can assume they're out growing and thriving. You know what I mean? Before they show back up. So I hope they go that route.
Moving on, what I tried to do, guys, is he put out a Bran's Vision video, and in the comments there were some Q&A questions. I tried to grab some of those, and then I went to the show episode breakdown and got most of the questions from there. Well, also, I would like to do some of your patrons from Patreon.
Yes.
So I'm gonna pick a few from there also.
Yeah, I definitely let them know to leave some questions on Patreon as well, and I definitely pick some of those for sure every week.
Heck yeah. Let's see, we got Annie Smith. Q&A question. Which Iron Islander will reach Daenerys first? Euron or Asha/Yara? And do you think Dany will strike up a deal with them? Without the Dragonbinder horn, it's hard to not think of the Iron Islanders this season as the ship delivery service to get Dany to Westeros.
Yeah, they are the Uber of Westeros right now. That's basically what it is. I think based off, logistics, it's going to be Yara first. I mean, they're already there. They're already on the way, right? So they took a few hundred ships. We don't really know how many, a couple hundred, few hundred, whatever. So they're headed to probably Slaver's Bay, and they'll probably stop by Volantis first. We did see Yara in Volantis in the teaser. So I'd imagine she's going to get there first and probably strike up a deal with Dany before Euron does. That would just be my guess. And that Euron's going to come over thinking he's going to do all this and that, and then he's going to get screwed. Yeah, that's my opinion. So,
royally.
So she's going to use his 1,000 ships, or that's going to magically get built in a couple weeks, but he may not be involved in it, one way or the other. Because again, she right now she is kind of a conqueror. And she's going to take what's hers.
Do you have time for a long one?
Sure.
All right. Layla Gig on Patreon says, I think I heard you say that the visions Bran was having were a download from the Three-Eyed Raven just before he passed. Yes? And it says, what info do you think the Three-Eyed Raven shared with Benjen? He seemed to know a lot about Bran needing to be at the Wall at the right time. I guess Benjen will be going back to the Wall too.
All right.
Wondering if Dragonglass to the heart will stop Jorah's scale or Dragonfire. Do you think Arya will become the assassin for House Stark? She's got skills now. Can't wait for her to kill the waif, or at least that hairstyle. One way or another, that hair will be added to the Wall.
Yes, it will.
Well, y'all think alike.
Yep.
Is the Hound going to show up to fight for the Sparrow in the trial by combat?
I think that he's shared everything. And I think there's some connection, obviously, we were talking about before, with Benjen now and Bran, because he knew too much. He knew everything that Bran had just seen in a vision. And he said, the Three-Eyed Crow called out to me. So I'm taking that as in, at some point, whether it was then in the vision somehow when we saw the ravens, which kind of represents Green Sight to me, that he called for him either then or sometime in the past, he has told him to be there at a certain time. It was just too convenient. You're in the Haunted Forest is massive. And then he shows up at just the right place at just the right time. So there is some connection there. Again, we just don't know how that works as far as the magic's involved, but they are linked because it's the same magic that Bran has as far as the Children of the Forest, how he was created or saved in this case. It's the same as the White Walkers are similar. And the Green Sight and all that's obviously Children of the Forest related northern magic, right? The next part was...
Wondering if Dragonglass to the heart will stop Jorah's scale or Dragonfire.
I would think with Jorah, that he would end up going to Quaithe first. She's the one in the books who gives Dany all these visions and keeps reminding her, you know, remember who you are.
Okay.
And all this stuff. So she didn't have a big role in the show at all compared to the books. But I would think he would try something like that, or perhaps a red priestess or priest, because it's pretty interesting as far as the grayscale being on the arm, because in the books, Victarion, who is Euron's brother, not in the show at all, this is what Yara is going to kind of be doing, he meets a red priest called Makoro. And Makoro, he has an injury, I remember right, on his arm, and Makoro takes him in there and saves his life. And then from that point on, he's like, I'm going to keep this guy around.
Yeah.
So that's another possibility that, you know, a religious, you know, zealot like, you know, Kinvara or somebody like that could actually save Jorah is a possibility. How would he even know to go there to get that operation? And we don't know if there's any children left in the show.
Oh,
they
yeah,
may
you
be on
mentioned that earlier. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, they may
you
be
have
on
to have them involved.
Right, they may be on the Isle of Faces, but we've never seen that in the show. So, I mean, in the books, there's supposedly a lot left in the Isle of Faces, but I don't think we're even going to see that. So he wouldn't even know to go there. So,
and do you think Arya will become assassin for the House Stark?
The unofficial one, yeah. I kind of, sort of. I mean, that's kind of, you know, what she still got her sense of justice, and that's why she chose to be Arya and not no one. She was never going to be no one. Needle to her, there was a chapter in A Feast for Crows, I believe, when she's talking about Needle. Needle represents everything to her. It represents her mom, her dad, her brothers, and John's smile, I think is what it says.
Wow.
So Needle to her represents her family and her past, and she just went and got that back.
Yes.
So she's going back, and she has a sense of justice, but she hadn't forgot either. The North remembers. So yeah, she's going back to be the unofficial assassin, and you know, probably headed to either the Freys first, or possibly King's Landing for Cersei or something. I don't know. We just have no idea. So she will, in a way, I guess you could say, but there's no official House Stark assassin, right? But she's going to get some off her list.
I believe you. And is the Hound going to show up to fight for the Sparrow in the trial by combat?
The Hound is going to show up. I definitely believe he's coming back, but I'm not completely sold that he's going to be there's going to be a Clegane Bowl. And Clegane Bowl is this hyped up, you know, version of brother versus brother, the Hound versus the Mountain. You know, the Mountain is now Zombie Mountain, you know, and then the Hound supposedly died, but he really didn't. In the books, he has if he is in fact alive, which most of us believe he is, because he was found on a place called the Quiet Isle, and the elder brother meets Brienne in the field, just passing by basically, and she sees this guy that's lame and reaches down to scratch a hound, a dog that stops by, named Dog, by the way. Yeah, so I'm not completely sure that the Hound's going to fight. As a matter of fact, as much as I would love to see him kill the Mountain for good, he's one of the few characters in this series that has a good ending. He went from being this, you know, this horrible backstory to how he became, you know, the Hound and had this burn and all that, you know, on his face because his brother is an asshole. And so he kind of becomes this asshole for a while, but he also has this soft spot and takes care of Sansa and Arya.
Okay.
And calls her a little bird and all this stuff. And he's had this whole life of violence and, you know, drinking and all this stuff, and he ends up with an actual peaceful existence. Like his arc ends in a good place for him.
Oh, cool.
So I would be fine if he never comes out of retirement and goes back to fight again. But at the same time, I do want to see Clegane Bowl and him kill his brother, because he promised him, Arya and himself, that he would be the one to kill his brother because he's such a bastard.
Can he do it?
That was my question when somebody had asked me this originally a long time ago in comments, was he's lame now. He's got this injury to his leg. He's limping. If he's the gravedigger, which is the gravedigger theory is, you know, exactly what I was just saying a minute ago about how he's supposedly this guy digging this grave, and Brienne kind of is questioning who he is, and the guy's saying the Hound is dead, but they're not saying Sandor Clegane is dead. He's saying the Hound is dead, as in he's a different person. So yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to see him again. I think that's what he's definitely going to come back probably this episode. And a lot of people are speculating and hoping, and I do too in a way, that he is the face champion against Cersei in the trial by combat.
I think that was close to 35 questions for you.
Yeah, so that was a lot of questions. Thanks for the questions, you guys. These are really fun to do. I really enjoy this format. It's just kind of free flow, and I get to talk to somebody in the actual room instead of staring at the camera the whole time.
I appreciate you guys, you know, wishing me happy birthday last week too. That meant a lot. I tried to go through and say thanks to all of you, so I appreciate it.
And I had to go approve all those comments because they got marked as spam. He was replying to so many, so
awesome.
If you didn't get a thank you, it's because it's in the spam folder.
That was awesome.
Anyway, guys, that'll do it for us this week in the Q&A. This is going to be a little bit long, but I think it'll be enjoyable, and I really dig these Q&As. They're fun to do. And I do want to give a big shout out to my patrons on Patreon. For May, I really appreciate all the support. So thank you very much to Lala Gig, Mark Joseph, aka the Snow in Winterfell, Jessica McCorder, Chris G, Joe Gaylord, Annie Smith, Kissa Powell or Kissa, Lawrence Fransick, Darren Resinger, Murph Dog, Gregor McGinley, Red River Giant, Tamika, Jennifer Walter, Alec, Just Being Nosy, Jamal, John Erickson, Taylor Royal, Jose Calvo, Ali C, R. Slayer, MC, Dolly, and Darlene Llewellyn. So as usual, thank you guys for all the support. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.